So, good day everyone. I'm Ethan, moderator for this webinar. Welcome everyone for today's webinar, review of 2022 regulations and look ahead 2023. I would now like to introduce our presenter for today, Justin Tin Mascalino. Justin brings over 20 years of wide-ranging experience in compliance, training and regulation in the banking sector. I would now like to hand over the floor to the speaker. Over to you, Justin.
All right, thank you very much for the introduction, and I want to welcome everybody for joining today. We have a lot to cover in a short period of time. So essentially what I want to go through is the 2022 changes that occurred. Some of them are small, some of them a little larger in scope. But I also want to touch on each regulator because everybody on this call probably works with different regulators. So I want to make sure I touch them all, or at least as many as I can, because it's important to get a basis for what one regulator is doing and another. Then I want to look ahead to this year and talk about the themes that are getting the most attention from regulators as well. You know, where we could see more regulation in the field. And then, you know, we could talk about how it impacts you. The CFPB, Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, they're just responsible for consumer protection in the U.S. And it includes a lot of different types of entities, banks, credit unions, mortgage service operations, debt collectors, and a lot more. Codifies a standard to govern information that will not be included in the public release of a designation decision. It extends the time for respondents to provide input related to their public release determinations from 7 to 10 days. The next one I want to touch on is the OCC. And real briefly, it's just an independent bureau within the U.S. Department of Treasury that was established by the National Currency Act of 1863. And it serves to charter, regulate, and supervise national banks, thrift institutions, and federally licensed branches and agencies of foreign banks in the U.S. They issued a final rule amending Suspicious Activity Report, or SAR, regulations. The rule basically clarifies the OCC's authority to issue exemptions from the requirements of the regulations based on a request from a national bank or a federal savings association. And this does include federal branches and any type of agencies of foreign banks. Nacha, they manage the development, administration, and governance of the ACH network. So they have their own Nacha operating rules, which oversee the members. And you know, the way they increase, or I guess the best way to say is develop, is through a national system of fines, increasing the same day ACH dollar limit. The point of this regulation is more of a part one, is to define what a nested third-party sender is, because there's been a lot of confusion in the past. FINRA basically oversees broker-dealers and exchange markets. It's been around for a long period of time. So Financial Industry Regulatory Authority. Just talking about what are the sanction guidelines. So these were developed by the NAC, the National Adjudicatory Council, really to assist various firms in determining the appropriate sanctions for securities rules violations. Wrapping up, I really want to go through, you know, the regulatory outlook for 2023. You know, we could see a lot of changes this year, but that also depends on a multitude of factors, how the regulators view this year, the administration, so on and so forth. But there's been a lot of talk about increasing regulation in certain parts. I just think that it's kind of about time that we have something within the crypto space and digital assets. Yeah, again, I'm hoping this year is the year. Oh yeah. So for everybody attending, listen, there's some great resources out there, but you could also get feeds from the various regulators where you don't have to go to a site every single time to see if there's a change. Um, depending on which regulators you work with or you fall under, think about setting it up. And, for anything I went over today, if you need more information, just go to the regulatory website for information. But with that being said, I want to thank everybody for joining today.
Thank you, Justin. That does conclude the session for today. You all have a great day. You all may disconnect now. Thank you. Good night.